The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you and your family. This Week in Cincinnati on WCPO 9.
Welcome to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. The field of 6 in the race for Cincinnati mayor is now down to 2. Hamilton County Clerk of Courts Aftab Pureval and City Council member David Mann. Pureval took the top spot with 39% of the vote. Mann was 10 points behind. State Senator Cecil Thomas finished third. The next mayor will face many challenges, ending the corruption at City Hall, dealing with the aftermath of the pandemic, and affordable housing, just to name a few issues. And with that in mind, I spoke with both David Mann and Aftab Pureval the day after the election. We begin with my interview with Pureval.
Aftab Pureval, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to chat with you. Last night was a really exciting night for our campaign and for the city. Voters came out in record numbers, braving the crazy weather to support our vision for moving Cincinnati forward. Really all across the city. I'm really proud of not just the fact that we won, but the broad, diverse coalition. There's 190 precincts in the city, and we were first or second in 189 of them. Really, really proud of that.
Okay, so now the real work begins. So let's start with this. The knock on you is that you run for everything, whether that's true or not, but you've run for 3 different positions in the past few years. So are you in this for the city of Cincinnati and to be mayor long term?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am 100% committed to the mayor's office because we face really big challenges, Tanya. As you well know, it's been an unfortunately historic and challenging year this past year. Historic because of the pandemic, historic because of the economic downturn, and unfortunately historic because of the 4 now indictments on city council. What the voters turned out last night to say resoundingly is that they want change. They want a fresh perspective. This campaign, our campaign, is about the future of Cincinnati, and our future is bright. It's dynamic, it's bold, but I think it's time for new leaders in City Hall, and the voters agreed last night.
What they also came out to say resoundingly was that they're not interested in $50 million dedicated to affordable housing, yet Cincinnati has an affordable housing issue. So what would you do as mayor to find a way to balance that out?
Yeah, we absolutely need to continue to prioritize affordable housing. I did not support issue 3. I thought it was a bad approach, but we do need an approach because the fact of the matter is the city does not have a comprehensive affordable housing strategy. I think it's a complicated issue that deserves a comprehensive strategy. And so, yes, we've got to get serious about funding the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That should be part of it. But Tanya, when you look at the big, bold ideas that have moved our city forward, it's always public-private partnerships, whether it's preschool promise or the public transit levy. That's the kind of commitment I think we need on affordable housing. But we can't stop there. A comprehensive approach will also take a look at our tax abatement program, particularly in the residential areas, where these tax incentives, these tax breaks are concentrated in our wealthy communities at the expense of communities that are looking to grow. I think that's upside down, and we need to have real reform there. So there's not a silver bullet to affordable housing. It's going to take all of us, and that's what we need. I think more than ever, what we need right now in Cincinnati is for us all to come together and to turn the page on this dark chapter in our city's history. That's what our campaign is about, and that's why I think voters responded so resoundingly to it.
Okay, I don't hear a concrete plan in there, but do you have a concrete number in your head that you think should go to affordable housing every year?
It's got to be a partnership. We've got to get everybody around the table, certainly the city, our new council as well, who's going to play a critical part in this, our institutional philanthropies, our universities and banks that already have community development funds. And we've got to get serious about funding the trust fund. And that's going to take real leadership. And I'm committed to doing that.
Okay. We are in a pandemic. We are going to be post-pandemic, we believe, soon. So how do you pull Cincinnati? How do you get the momentum back that Cincinnati had post-pandemic?
Absolutely. I think if you run for mayor, you should have a plan. I'm the only candidate in the race with a plan. I've got a comprehensive economic recovery plan that you can check out on my website, aftabformayor.com. And it starts with recovery. We should be using some of the $291 million to help our city rebound. We need strong leadership in City Hall right now to recover after COVID, to come out swinging, to grow our city, grow our tax base, grow our skyline, and get back some of what we've lost this past year. And it's been a challenging year for all of us, certainly, but it's been particularly challenging for our live events industry, for our small businesses, and for our restaurants. And so when we recover with some of this $291 million, we need to recover in a targeted way to lift up those industries. But after we recover, Tanya, it's so critically important that a city our size grows. We have to grow our city. And a big way to do that is not just to attract employers, but now, I mean, given we're talking to each other on Zoom, this pandemic has changed the way that we work. And so we also have to be recruiting those remote workers to come to our city. So we've got to create neighborhoods that are dense, that are vibrant, that are diverse, that rely not just on cars and buses, but also on public transportation, on bike lanes, and on pedestrians. That's the kind of neighborhoods that they're looking for. And that's, I think, the recipe for success for Cincinnati moving forward.
You do talk about growing the skyline, and to do that, you do have to make sure that businesses are part of Cincinnati. So do you consider yourself a pro-business candidate?
I'm a pro-growth candidate without a doubt. I mean, cities our size have to grow. If we don't grow, then we die. But when we grow, we have to grow equitably. We have to make sure that the success here in Cincinnati is shared in all 52 of our neighborhoods. I'm running to lift up our entire city. And I think that's a vision that voters agree with.
Do you consider yourself a progressive? And if so, what does that mean?
Yeah, I am a Democrat. I am a progressive. I think that means really focused in on equity, really making sure that the city is growing, but that the city's growth is shared in all of our neighborhoods. You know, but what I really love about the mayor's race is that it is nonpartisan. There's no Republican or Democratic way to pick up trash. And if you care about basic services, then Tanya, who better to elect than the Hamilton County Clerk of Courts? It's what I do all day long, making sure that the trains run on time in the courthouse.
And with just about a minute left, let me ask you this. Let's say you win and you are the next mayor of Cincinnati. Aside from walking in and getting comfortable in your seat, what is the first thing that you would do?
The first thing that we have to do is recover after COVID. We have to be laser focused on our economic recovery, because unfortunately, it's just been a really difficult year for so many families. My wife is a doctor with Tri-Health. She works in local hospitals and she treats COVID patients every day. I know, I've seen personally the devastating effects this disease has had on families, on businesses, on the community writ large. So on my very first day, that'll be my focus, economic recovery after COVID.
AFTAB Pureval, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Up next, my interview with City Councilman David Mann about his vision for the city. Welcome back. Today on This Week in Cincinnati, we're talking with the two finalists in the race for Cincinnati Mayor, Hamilton County Clerk of Courts AFTAB Pureval, and City Council member David Mann. I spoke with Pureval in our last segment. Here is my conversation with David Mann, recorded on Zoom the day after Tuesday's election.
David Mann, congratulations.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited. And now we get to start phase two, which is to work on explain to the voters who they should prefer in 6 months. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right. And so on that topic, I think the biggest knock I hear about David Mann is been there, done that. You have been there and done that. So what new approaches would you bring to the city of Cincinnati?
So I've had too much experience. That's interesting. So on the one hand, somebody's got experience who's been a leader in city government for a long time, had many initiatives, brought about many improvements. On the other hand, somebody that has spent a lot of time in the last 3 years running for offices, 3 elections in 3 years. So I don't know. Voters will have to decide what their preference is.
So what do you see as, what would be your initiatives then?
Well, first of all, we're not going to get anywhere unless we restore trust in government. And I'm as embarrassed and as angry as anyone that 4 of my colleagues have been indicted in the last 18 months or so. We got to get past that. It's unprecedented. We are doing a lot of things. The voters on yesterday adopted some changes to the charter, which will help make a difference. I authored some legislation that created a blue ribbon panel that's busily studying what best practices should be. And that panel will come back to us this summer, and there'll likely be some more charter proposals on the ballot in November. We have to separate council members and the mayor from the development process and make sure that there's not the temptation at the end of the day, we also have to be careful who we elect, because if we elect people who are willing to trade their votes for money, all the rules in the world won't prevent that from happening. So that's number one. Number two, obviously, we're struggling with the pandemic. We're making a lot of progress, and as we come out of it, we have to thoughtfully use all the federal money that's becoming available to us to heal the hurt and heal the damage to the city, to private businesses, to our private citizens. And that's underway. We've got $291 million. I'm chair of the Budget and Finance Committee. We adopted some ordinances today in City Council that made some initial choices, and next week I think we'll do the same. Beyond that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, beyond that, we've got to focus on more jobs that pay well. And as people have a living wage and more than a living wage, they then can provide for themselves in terms of meeting their needs, including housing that they can afford.
You kind of touched on it there just a moment ago, but I want to kind of expand on it. How do you, post-pandemic, pull Cincinnati along to the momentum it was currently enjoying a year and a half ago? Well,
you do. One of the things you do is what we did today. We appropriated several $1 million to support bars and restaurants, to support some of the things that allow outdoor dining and OTR. It's coming along. There'll be some more proposals just like that for activating our neighborhood business districts, supporting restaurants and bars in neighborhoods. We also today approved $5 million for a $40 million program that will support new and developing minority businesses. It's a partnership with the business community. The Procter & Gamble is a big part of it. The president of the African American Chamber of Commerce was there, and so we're very excited about that. We also today appropriated some money to support our charitable organizations that have also been hit by all that's happened in the last year and a half through the pandemic. So we're making progress. We'll continue, and I think we're on the right side of the curve. None of it's easy. If it were easy, we wouldn't call it a pandemic, but we're experiencing it, and I'm very proud of where we are, and we're going to do a lot more good things.
Okay, so one thing that was defeated soundly was $50 million. This was on Tuesday. Voters said no to $50 million for affordable housing, but clearly there's an issue with affordable housing in the city of Cincinnati. So what would you do as mayor to help that along?
I would continue what we've been doing. We've been creating between 400 and 600 units of affordable housing every year for the last 6 years. We've just applied for a grant that we expect to receive from Housing and Urban Development in Washington, in the amount of $34 million. That will be used for affordable housing in partnership with Cincinnati Development Fund, which is an important nonprofit that helps us leverage public dollars, private dollars, some tax credits that are available to produce affordable housing units. So we're on good track, and I think because of the attention that was brought to the problem by the Issue 3 campaign, we're going to be doing more. I support that. We're about to allocate $10 million to affordable housing from the federal stimulus fund. So a lot of things are underway. So much of what we're talking about has to be done now. It can't wait till next January when the new mayor takes office.
Are you a progressive? And if so, what does that mean?
I don't know. I believe in thoughtful, rational government. Our purpose is to meet the needs of our citizens. Our purpose is to do so on a basis that is economically sound. So I don't know what definition, and I don't worry about that. I worry about using thoughtful analysis to a problem and making decisions that our budget can support.
Do you consider yourself a pro-business candidate?
I'm pro-people. I'm pro-Cincinnati. If the business community is not in a position of collaboration with city government, that's tragic. We can do so many wonderful things together. We have been doing wonderful things together. The Chamber of Congress is a partner on the initiative that supports restaurants and bars. We've had an initiative called Childhood Poverty Collaborative, which has now become Project Lift, which involves substantial funds each year from the business community. We wouldn't have passed the preschool promise initiative a few years ago, and I was a big part of that without the business community. So in my experience, the business community is just as interested as public officials in progress in our city.
One few seconds left here.
Yeah.
Say you become mayor, your first official act as mayor would be what? To do what?
That's a good question. To promise to the citizens of Cincinnati to give every last ounce of my energy, my time and effort and prayers to the progress of the people of the city of Cincinnati.
David Mann, congratulations on your Tuesday night showing, and we'll see you a lot, I assume, over the next 6 months.
Well, I hope so. I appreciate your time very much. Have a good day.
Voters overwhelmingly rejected an affordable housing amendment in Cincinnati, but even opponents of issue 3 said it's an issue that needs to be addressed. Up next, we look at what's next as the city tries to address this problem. Voters in Cincinnati this week rejected issue 3, the affordable housing amendment, by nearly a 3-to-1 margin. It would have required the city to spend at least $50 million each year on affordable housing. Supporters said it was necessary to help thousands of families. Opponents said it would devastate the city budget. But many opponents also conceded affordable housing is an issue that needs to be addressed. So what's next? WCPO 9 News reporter Lucy May took a close look at that for us.
Knew that the voters would come through for us. We knew that they would see through this.
Matt Alter has been working to defeat issue 3, but says his next move will be to help with affordable housing.
I know the Cincinnati Labor Council and some of the other stakeholders, including some of the political parties, are interested in also sitting down and being a part of that and saying, okay, this, the voters voted no on this, but how do we make sure that this doesn't just fall to the back burner and we continue on this pace to ensure that we can bring affordable housing to Cincinnati in a responsible manner that doesn't damage and doesn't hurt current services.
We'll gather ourselves together and celebrate the significant progress that we have made.
As executive director of the Greater Cincinnati Homeless Coalition, Josh Spring has been fighting for more affordable housing for years.
At this point, even our opposers, all of the mayoral candidates, have affordable housing on the tips of their tongues and are talking about it, and everybody is saying, even though people want to argue about the numbers and the semantics, everybody is saying, we care about this. We're going to do something about this.
Spring says that fight will continue.
There's just, too many kids are dealing with not having a home. Too many parents are struggling. Too many people die each year for us to slow down.
Lucy May, WCPO 9 News.
Even without issue 3, Cincinnati has committed to spending more than $35 million in housing for the city's poorest residents. Council approved that plan last month. Nearly all the money will come from a federal grant from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The mayor will appoint a board to oversee the fund. In addition to that, Councilmember Chris Seelbach tweeted this week he wants to introduce a charter amendment that would change Cincinnati's earning tax by 0.1%. He says this will bring an estimated $20 million a year just for affordable housing. This Week in Cincinnati is coming right back. Place your bets. You might soon be able to gamble on sports in Ohio. A bill was introduced in the state Senate this week that would give the Ohio Casino Control Commission, regulatory authority over sports gaming. The bill calls for issuing up to 40 3-year licenses. Each one would cost $1 million. 20 would go to places such as casinos and racinos that can bank a bet. The other 20 licenses would go to brick and mortar locations such as sports bars. That's This Week in Cincinnati for this Sunday. Join us for breaking news, weather, and sports at 6 and 11 tonight on WCPO 9 News. Plus, we're always updating your headlines on WCPO.com.